Good evening. Hello out there in, I don't want to say La La Land, it's virtual land. How is everyone doing this afternoon? It's a beautiful Monday evening in Toronto. And depending on when you're tuning in, if you're on live and on the replay, let me know if you are on Team Live tonight, where you are tuning in from. Put it in the chat, whether you are on Facebook, whether you are on YouTube. Let us know where you are coming in from. What's the weather like? Is it a great day? Today we had lots of rain, downpours, but now the sun is coming out. And even though it's only 8 o'clock, it's still bright outside, and you're hearing the beautiful songs of Calabash. We got to play some jazz, some Caribbean music, some Caribbean jazz. So Calabash is in the background. Okay, now you just got a few seconds. You got to go grab that drink, grab your notebooks. You never know when I or my guest is going to drop some wisdom nuggets for you. Please share with your friends and your family because this is a show you don't want to miss. So, welcome to Victory Speaks. It's an inspired conversation series, and I am your host, Nicole Waldron, your voice of victory and your mental fitness coach. And you know what? I'm on a mission, folks. I'm on a mission to inspire you to live a life of victory, a victorious lifestyle. Out of my natural advocacy stance and desire to amplify the stories of others, I decided to curate some inspiring conversations with everyday experts, unsung heroes, and thought leaders that will empower all of us. Some of them are my iron sharpeners, individuals that inspire me, mentor me close, even from a distance. Over the last 50 shows plus, you have met many of them. Some of them are seasoned in my life, and some of them are new. But yet, they have all had an impact. Hold on a second. So, I've recognized that no matter the type of conversation we have, good, bad, funny, you name it, we all get inspired. It's all about perspective. Tonight, I want to introduce you to one of my iron sharpeners who not only impacts my life, but the life of others. Now, sit back. Are you ready? Are you ready for this, folks? Tonight, we have a conversation where we're speaking about a new initiative that has been launched by Skills for Change called the Black Leadership Institute on social change, social action for change. Hold on. I don't know where I have this cough happening from. Grab your drinks because I just need to have a little cough and take a sip of water. This is what happens when you're doing live. But thank you for understanding. Hey, Juliet. And so, my guest tonight is Surranna Sandy, CEO Skills for Change, and is joining me on the Victory Speak stage. She is amazing. Now, Skills for Change is a registered charity and nonprofit multi-service agency in Toronto, and they're serving over 14,000 immigrants and refugees annually. Now, Surranna found her calling in advocating for and advancing the needs of immigrants and refugees as a volunteer and board member in the settlement sector. Prior to becoming the CEO of Skills for Change, Surranna enjoyed a successful career as president and founder of Surcorp Group, a career management firm with offices in Toronto and Ottawa. Now, under the leadership of Surranna, Skills for Change has grown from 5 locations in the GTA to 10 locations in the GTA and Southern Ontario, serving over 15,000 clients per year. She has led them in expanding its programs and services from serving primarily internationally educated professionals to also serving immigrant women, youth, entrepreneurs, and seniors. She is the chair of the board of directors of the Toronto Workforce Innovation Group and is a board member of First Work Ontario's Youth Employment Assistance Centre. She is a member of the advisory committee of the Ontario Nonprofit Network's Decent Work for Women project and serves as steering committee member for the consortium of agencies serving immigrants. She is also a member of the Cities Toronto Partnership and Accountability Circle, PAC, and for the Toronto Action Plan to confront anti-Black racism. Surranna was awarded the Government of Canada's 150 Outstanding Neighbor Award. This award is in recognition of her community service as CEO of Skills for Change. Now, give a warm welcome to my guest tonight, our guest tonight on the victory stage with your hearts, your emojis, your love. Drop it in the comments. Woohoo! Surranna, welcome to the show tonight. How are you
Hey,
doing?
Nicole. Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Happy to be here.
Well, I am so glad to have you here. And the fact that I know you have a super busy schedule and that you're here tonight, yes, I am going to just dive in because there's so much we have to glean from you. But before we get into the nitty gritty, like how have you been handling stuff, the pandemic with yourself and all that is going on and running such a ginormous organization?
It's the pandemic has been very interesting. So, with all of the trauma and challenges that everybody's facing around the world, it also created some opportunities for us to build programs and services that more responsive to people needs during the pandemic. So, what I've been doing on a professional perspective is looking at like increasing mental health services, creating technology loan programs for low income clients to have access to like laptops and cell phones and things like that. But on a personal basis, I am running more and more. I run 5 days a week. So last Saturday I did a
Wow.
10K. Exhausted, tired. Took a long time, but running is my way of sort of bouncing off all of the pressures and stress. Is to be out there, flowing and rushing through space, as it were, as a runner. So that's what I've been doing.
So how important, as you touch on that point, how important would you say self-care is to you and should be to leaders as they move in this space?
It's you can't when you go on a plane and they're doing that life sort of
Mm,
like taking care of
with the
um
oxygen mask on. Yeah.
yeah. And the first thing I say is put yours on first before you can take care of anyone else. And it's the same thing. As a leader, we have to ensure that we're mentally strong and resilient. We're physically healthy and well so that we can turn around, provide the optimum support to our staff and community. So for me, wellness is not just physical wellness, but mental wellness. So whether it's reading, motivating pieces of work, whether it's meditation,
Hmm.
journaling, and running, those are all part of my toolkit. And then, of course, doing taking care of my physical self, whether it's you think about your facial, your well, we can't go to the spas for last year, but
Yes.
learning to do your own manicure and pedicure and
Come
taking care
on
of your
now.
hair and everything, the little things that make you feel whole and well, and pull together so that you can support your folks is all as critical as creating a strategic plan or ensuring the budget is balanced. You got to be mentally and physically well.
I love that you said that. Let me tell you, Shepherd's Drug Mart is my new hair salon. I get all my dyes and everything, all my hair products there because it's just where I have to go now. It's not about the hair salon anymore.
Well, I
Got
learned
to
to
cover
follow
up those grays.
YouTube. Yeah, YouTube is not my friend to figure out how to take care of my hair
Listen,
outside of a hairdresser.
it is so interesting how we've had to learn different things in technology and grow in a different way. What would you say that you're passionate about outside of your work and doing all this stuff for immigrants and women and all that you do?
Well, my biggest passion ever since I was a young girl is reading. So I actually created a book club for Black women. It's called Black Women Connect. We are on Facebook, and
Listen,
we
Juliet
have
is already on here saying she loves your book club. I need to be part of
yeah.
this book club.
It's you gotta join us. Just Black Women Connect on Facebook, Black Women Connect / Black Women Network. We have 1,600 members, and we read books from the diaspora, only by Black authors and Black stories. And
Wow.
it's an opportunity to engage with stories that is very reflective of us. And it's about supporting Black authors. We read across the diaspora. So, we're reading books from the Caribbean, the African continent, the US, Canadian Black writers that we probably don't see in the mainstream. And it's the best aspect of sisterhood. And of course, I love the books, but it's when we have our monthly meetings and we are supportive and engaging with each other. That's what gives me joy. So I love my book club. You can find us, as I mentioned, Facebook. We also all of our events are on Eventbrite. So if you love books and you want to discover new Black authors, you got to join us.
That is me. You okay. You should see my bookshelf. I have four bookshelves and a container. I'm a bookaholic. I gotta say I'm a book junkie because it's such a negative term, but I'm a bookaholic. I am a bookaholic. And like Joan Pierre and stuff, we're all bookaholics. So what was it like growing up in the Isle of Spice in your early years growing up before you came to Canada?
You know, um, It was great. I think I look back and I think I had a really good life. I was fortunate. I My mom died when I was pretty young, so I grew up with the old folks, my elders, and I'm grateful for that. I grew up with my grandma, and when she passed away, with my grandfather, who, you know,
Mhm.
late 70s, had to figure out how to take care of a young girl, and did a fantastic job
Wow.
and instilled, I guess, a sense of ambition and energy and can do itness and independence. And my grandmother was incredibly supportive and basically told me I could do and be anything. So you think of a tragedy of, being sort of orphaned and then having the elders there to sort of catch you and carry you on. So it was good. It was a life of a lot of joy and simplicity, a lot of sense of community, and I really, really appreciated I had that opportunity. And I think it also because I grew up in a country that was, to be very frank, it's you look around and it's black people and it's black
Yes.
doctors and black teachers and black dentists and black everything. So when I came to Canada, that sense of who I was and what I could be was already fully integrated in me. So I couldn't imagine not doing what I wanted to do and being what I wanted to be. And I think it's because I grew up where it was expected that you would be able to accomplish things, whether or not your color or your gender. And that's, I think, is a basic foundation that I gained, and I think that made me able to navigate the space with confidence.
You see, I love how you formed it because it really formed your context for becoming the woman that you are now and standing in the truth of who you are. Because
Mhm.
I find when you grow up in the Caribbean and you grow up in the diaspora, we see it. We see black leaders. We see, people of color in leadership. And now, what surprised you when you came here with that context? What surprised you as you came here to Toronto and travel the world, because you didn't just come here first, you've traveled. What
Mhm.
changed? What did you see that was different, that really surprised you?
I think is how differences are emphasized more than the sameness. So your difference, whether you're a woman,
Hmm.
whether you are LGBTQ plus, whether you're racialized, all those pieces, those things are front and center for everybody. And where I came from, what was emphasized is whether you were a good student or whether you were a good parent or colleague or community, and it wasn't just your race and gender as a paramount piece that was emphasized. So I think that was one of the major differences. And then this sort of assumption that because you're black, you just have to be a certain thing, or you have to be in a certain space, or you weren't supposed to do certain things or enjoy certain things, or go to certain schools or study certain subjects or
Hmm.
play a certain sport or even listen to certain music. I mean, my biggest Freddie Mercury Queen fan, and people are like, black people don't
Yes.
listen to rock and roll. I'm like, well, we created it. So
Yes,
but
come
it's
on
that
now.
kind of sense of you stay in a certain lane because of your ethnicity or your gender was more pronounced here. And I think that is unfortunate because it just prevents people from really absorbing what is really cool about Canada is that we're so different. Everybody here is from somewhere else practically, except for our
Yeah.
Indigenous colleagues and community members. So what is wrong with embracing those differences and learning about it, and also thinking what would be great to do and learn and participate and engage with? So that was the difference. But also there is that also sense of opportunity. There is still great opportunity to be and to do.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that. I mean, look at where I am with all the
Yeah.
challenges. I still have an opportunity to excel in different ways and to grow and to build community here. So I do appreciate that.
Now you found this calling in advocating and advancing for the needs of immigrant. What made you become this person who was this advocate in this space?
Um, I think it's because I my first career was in human resources, so I worked in human resources, and one of the things that was interesting to me is how much credentialism impacted people's ability to just get a job reflective of their skills and knowledge and capability, and then the idea that you needed Canadian experience to work in a field that you may have had 30 odd years, 20, 15 years, multinational organizations. And I said to myself, accounting is accounting. What is different with Canadian accounting than
Talk
Nigerian
about it.
accounting or a
Talk about
Jamaican
it.
accounting, right? I mean, you may have legal statutes and certain
Yeah.
things here, but at the end of the day, basic principles are the same. And I think it was an opportunity to break down barriers for people. And I always think it's a huge loss. And one of the things that it was critical for me is to say Canada is losing out, right, from all
Yes.
these talented folks. And that is unfortunate because the hoops you have to jump through to get here, right? You need all these points. You need to have this degree. You need
Yep.
to have this, and then all of the things that you tell me I need to have to immigrate to Canada. When I get here, you go, oh, by the way, yeah, it's not valuable. Once you paid all your fees to get your
Come on now.
PR and make everything, no one needed anymore. And that to me is ridiculous. And it also paints Canada, in my opinion, in a very bad light. Because a lot of immigrants who would have given up great careers and opportunities to come here come and say, I'm very disappointed to be here. I feel lied to. And I've heard that. Those are things that I hear from our clients.
Yeah.
I feel lied to. I'm disappointed in Canada. And really, for us, I love Canada. And I would like Canada to have growth and to be successful. And so having immigrants in good jobs where they can buy cars and houses
Yeah.
and send their kids to after school programs only makes it better for all of us, right? Because we benefit.
And I heard that story. I remember after I was working Surranna, and the insurance company I was working for closed down, and I took that time to start reinventing the wheel, and I did a self-employment program with the YMCA. And what shocked me was how many people with so many degrees and qualifications were sitting there just lost in a system that had so disappointed them. And I don't really think it's a story that many people are telling, how it really breaks the heart that you have all this experience in places all over the world, and you're reduced to sometimes having to go on social assistance, sometimes having to go on, asking for aid, and you've come with degrees and you've come qualified and sometimes with more experience than the people that are here. It
Mm-hmm.
blows my mind. Blows my mind.
It's demoralizing. It causes a lot of mental health issues, right? And then what ends up happening is your confidence is diminished.
Yes.
Your sense of who you are, your values is your value of yourself is diminished, right? Whether you could be as strong as you are, but after years of rejection, simply because someone says no, that education experience is no longer valuable.
Hmm.
Now, then you have to go and try to get a job, and then they go, because you've not worked in Canada, we'll pay you less, right? But then the other issue with that, and I'm not sure if you see it, is immigrants who've made it, a lot of them, not all, but some of them do sort of say, well, I had to start at the bottom, so you should start at the
Yes.
bottom too.
Yes.
So we continue the same cycle. You would think when we get into an opportunity where we're successful, we saw the struggle, we will turn around and say, let me make it easier for the next cohort, the next generation. No, it's the, well, I had to take an entry level job, so you should be expected to do the same. And we all lose. We all lose because you lose from people leveraging the expertise to make companies stronger, to make companies more successful, to make the country more successful, to improve the economy. We need immigrants. We have labor shortages that is going to be compounded when more people retire,
Yes.
right? The country requires more people to do those really critical work, not only essential work
Hmm.
that we reclassified all of a sudden is essential, right? But it's also the skilled work that we need
Yes.
people to come in and do, and you can't afford for them to be stuck at the bottom because we're going to be losing. It's just ridiculous to be able to do that. So, yes, there's a ton of highly skilled, capable people who are not working in their field. It's so unfortunate. And we are lost for it. Every day that continues to happen, every day there isn't an outcry, a demand to change that, the Canada is worse off for it.
It totally is. And Sarah, thank you for that comment. And she's totally in agreement. And Sarah, thank you for tuning in all the way from Ottawa. The elusive Canadian experience and non recognition of foreign credentials. Shame on the gatekeepers. And it is so true. And, it really hurts my heart. And even as you say there, coming back into the space and getting to meet you, it's like that awakening because you can forget. You can sit in your bubble in your home and not realize
Mm-hmm.
why all this investment is being done. And you can feel like, oh, well, they're only investing in immigrants, but you don't know the lies that they have told. So for
Mm-hmm.
people who are now joining us live, tell us where you're from. If you're on the replay, we still want to know where you're from. I see Keith Lloyd, you're joining from England. Oh my God, that is a blast from the past. I am seeing new faces coming onto the show tonight. So thank you for joining. Talking to Surranna Sandy from the CEO of Skills for Change, which is a phenomenal organization doing extraordinary work. And when you talk about the immigrant experience, one of the things that is coming to me is about their mental health and wellness. What are you seeing in that? We're talking about one, we're dealing with a pandemic, and now you add being an immigrant in the space. What are you seeing coming to your organization in terms of people's mental health and wellness?
So we have to break it down just a little bit too.
Hmm.
So the mental health issues, as you mentioned, COVID-19, compounded by you can't get a job because you remember there
Yep.
were so many businesses
Yeah.
shut down. You're running out of resources you may have brought in that you thought maybe you have 6 months, maybe a year, and then you'll be able to get a job and be able to build your career. Then the separation that many families have undergone, we're not talking about it because you would have come here with the assumption that you bring your family over if they're not over, or you bring your parents over, or you'd be able to visit and connect with your community and your family members. That also created issues. So we find that people are having higher increase of stress, and depression is compounded, but it's also around different groups. We do mental health services for women, specifically customized women's services, then for seniors and for youth. And we have racialized immigrant youth who are LGBTQ plus, and so you have those unique challenges that you have with being a racialized member of the gay community and all the issues that you're confronting as you try to navigate the community. Then we have racialized immigrant women clients who are facing issues around whether it's intimate partner violence, it's around accessing to jobs, access to communities. So there's the social isolation that is compounded by COVID-19, and similar things with seniors. And so our counselors are overwhelmed. And coupled with that, you have issues that people confront where it's digital literacy, so that prevents them from really participating in the labor market or community as other people very comfortable saying, well, oh, I can go on Zoom and I can take my classes online, I can do all of that easily. But what about the folks who don't have those resources and tools?
Hmm.
How does that create additional burden and stress for them? So those are some of the issues that we're trying to deal with, and the counselors are trying to work through. And then the other piece too, let's be frank, um, racism didn't disappear because we're all working from home.
Come on now.
Islamophobia didn't disappear. You show up for an interview with a hijab and then they cut the interview really, really short, right? Your name may have sounded non-black and then you show up on Zoom and they go, ooh, okay, and the interview
Yes.
10 minutes, right? Those are things that could continually ensure people have continued mental health stressors and pressure points that moves into broader issues around depression, and further stress that allows them to be really, really badly off from a mental health perspective. And we started speaking about it early in the pandemic. And then as the pandemic sort of continued on, you may have noticed that the media and the focus has been more on the white collar workers who are Zoom fatigued and
Hmm.
how stressful that is. But what about the low income folks who are jumping on a bus and are surrounded by 50 people closely pushed together, working in
Yes.
environments where they're very close to each other? How do you think that impact their mental health? Right, those essential workers whom we work very closely with to getting
Hmm.
new jobs and and skills enhancement and skills upgrading. Their stress wasn't just about working from home. Their stress was just going in the community and exposing themselves on a daily basis to this
Right.
deadly disease whilst they're trying to better their lives. That was the other thing that we deal with. And I don't think we talk a lot about that. We talk about me, and I'm at
Hmm.
home, and how tired
Yeah.
I am from being on a
Yeah.
Zoom call, and how stressed out I
I'm
am on a
Zoom
Zoom call.
fatigued. Come on
Yes.
now.
But then two buses that I have to take, plus the subway, and so on, that other person, and then go and work in a closely enclosed area, and I'm making not more than minimum wage.
Yep.
What about that personal level of stress? What tools and resources? Where is the amplifying of what they're going through? Those are the things that we hear and don't see, and out there in the media as a real good critical concern that we need investments and supports around.
And we need to amplify that conversation because, it's something that concerns me a lot. I know I'm from home, and like on the weekend, Saran, I went for my second shot. And it was my first time on the subway in a long time. And I was like, who's and 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, the subway, the bus was almost full. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine in the week, and I'm on a Saturday morning. What
Mm-hmm.
does that feel like? And who doesn't feel to wear their mask? And it's the mental strain and fatigue. And I'm very concerned about what we're going to be doing to address people's mental health and wellness,
Mm-hmm.
especially the frontline workers. As you said, the narrative changed. People who just looked at nurses and doctors as frontline workers. It is something that we have to pay attention to, and I'm so glad that you're at the helm of Skills for Change, and you're recognizing some of this, and you have put some infrastructure in place to address mental health and wellness. Some
Mm-hmm.
of the comments coming up here, Sarah. Then there's the push from developing countries and Park here in Canada strategy. Yes, we need to tell the truth to the young professionals. We really need to, because we don't tell the truth. I always say tell the truth and shame the devil, but I'm not going to give the devil any credit on this show tonight. um, when I think about you leaving your career at Circorp and coming to Skills for Change, and just listening to you now, what made you catapult and make this change uh, to come here and take on this I guess, as I say, magnanimous role of this organization?
Um, it was an interesting thing because I wanted a change, and I really was doing all those volunteer work, and like I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be in a space where you're supporting people, right, and you're helping people achieve personal goals with anything for you, with anything in it for me, with anything in for anybody, but just to doing good, the social good, the community good. And this organization, it serves immigrants and refugees, and it just spoke to me in that way. Plus it had employment and skills building, which is where my orientation is around career management and developing people to be successful in careers. And it just aligned really well with my lived experience as an immigrant, training and development, my HR background, my I was the president of a company for 10 years before. So bringing that leadership strategic mindset to grow the organization and continue to do the work was exciting. And at the time, Skills for Change was 30 years old. So it's a well established company. And so to be able to take the reins of an organization that has been around for a very long time and show its sustainability and its growth was very, very exciting. And it was very challenging time. This is 2012. There was a lot of shifts in the organization. The organization is funded by all levels of government, and a couple of years before, there was the conservative government on the federal level, and
Hmm.
a lot of cuts came through because
Right.
this piece of work, immigrants and refugees, wasn't paramount, right? The investment
Yeah.
wasn't paramount. And then coming in 2012, we were able to like navigate that. And a few years later, with the shift with the new liberal government, more investment in the services, we were able to expand the programming. And it was a well-timed change to be able to reshape the organization, shift it forward, to be able to sustain itself and to grow. So I feel privileged that I was able to step in at that time and to make this kind of impact and hopefully continue to keep the organization going forward.
And so, for those who don't know what Skills for Change really is about, can you just tell us a little bit about Skill for Change?
Oh, yes. So we are very, very thrilled to be around to do this work. So we are a registered charity, nonprofit. We've been around for 39 years. Come November, we were established initially in 1982 to help immigrants and refugees coming in from Vietnam to really just settle in Canada. It was for women, Vietnamese women, from escaping, from the Vietnamese War, and
Wow.
then transitioned to be in an organization that helped both men and women about 7 years later. So we do employment training for immigrants and refugees. So we work with large companies, Stantec,
Hmm.
to Apotex. We work with partners with the bank, to do employment services. We're funded by the City of Toronto, the provincial government, the federal government, and other organizations, Toronto Dominion Bank, Accenture, Catherine Donnelly Foundation, to help people get jobs, learn to speak English. We have an entrepreneurship hub. We also have academic bridging programs for immigrants, especially for the trades in our centers in Peel and Markham.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
have a youth program, so youth leadership program, youth entrepreneurship program, and we really built out the last few years our mental health services. Especially, we started with mental health services for women, and then expanded it to all the clients, including youth and seniors mental health program that is
Right.
also funded by TELUS Canada. And so anybody who's new to Canada and you want a job, you want a mentor, you're thinking of starting a business, you're thinking of academic training for data analytics, finance and accounting, health informatics, the trades, so electrician, millwrights, welders, HVAC, you know, accounting and finance, women in technology. We have so many programs and services to
Wow.
help immigrants pop into and learn about what we do and then go into labor market with confidence. We do mentoring because we know that bridging that network gap, the gap that a lot of immigrants may have in their field. You may have social networks, but you want the
Mhm.
professional network. So we do matching with mentors, with mentor programs that we have for immigrants and refugees. And because of COVID, all of the programs are still being delivered online. We have Blackboard, which is a really great platform, learning platform. We use Zoom and we engage with our clients to access all the services. So, employment counselors, mentoring coaches, facilitators, language instructors are there. So, you can check us out at skillsforchange.org. And this, I think, thing for everybody as you come in. The biggest missing piece for us was the mental health services that we invested in. The reason that we brought mental health services and why is this settlement agency, and we have settlement services for newcomers, why do they have mental health services? Well, we saw about 3 4 years ago when we refer our clients who desperately needed mental health services, they'll wait
Yes.
6 to 18 months to meet a counselor.
Yep.
And we said, that's unacceptable. At that point
Mhm.
in time, what does that mean for that person to suffer so long? So we brought counselors in house, and they speak Cantonese, they speak Farsi, they speak Persian and different languages that allow our clients to get services in a language that they're comfortable with. And finally, speaking of languages, we speak 26 different languages in our center.
Woo.
So if you want somebody who speaks Swahili, or you want somebody who speaks Eritrean or Farsi, Tagalog, French, Spanish, Portuguese, we're right there. We have folks from Zimbabwe, we have folks from Ethiopia, we have folks from Somalia, we have folks from the Ukraine, India, Pakistan, Iran, around the world. It's very multicultural. It's very reflective of the people we serve.
Right.
So chances are you speak a language, somebody in the centers can speak that language and ensure that you feel supported and welcomed.
I am so excited, like to find out about you guys with just a project we did, earlier this year when we were talking about women and International Women's Month. And just
Mm-hmm.
watching what your team did is so phenomenal. And now to
Mm-hmm.
hear the whole scope and gamut, and if anybody's live watching live and on the replay, and you know of someone who is an immigrant and and needs some assistance, I wish I had a skills for change when I came here to help me navigate this system.
And just to
And
be
you just
clear, mhm,
go
sorry,
ahead.
I didn't say it, but I should say it. These are all free services. We're funded
Mm,
by the various levels of government and private foundations and companies. Like I mentioned, Accenture, TD Bank, TELUS, Catherine Donnelly, etc., and the government of Canada, the government of Ontario, and the city of Toronto, to provide these services at no cost to our clients. We are so you can come in and access these programs at no cost.
so in terms of the clients, how new or how old an immigrant can you be? Could you be here like 2 years, 3 years? It has to be in your 1 year part, or like
Doesn't matter. Um, so we also serve Canadian-born folks who may need certain employment programs. Some programs, for example, that are very specific, like language training and settlement services,
Mhm.
and some aspects of it is only for immigrants. As long as you're
Right,
not a citizen, you can access. However, a lot of our other programs are for immigrants who are citizens and have been here for 30, 40 odd years. And then it's also Canadian borns can participate in some programs like employment programs that are not designated just for immigrants. So just don't worry about eligibility. Just
okay,
contact us and we can screen it through. We help folks, for example, who have been here for 30, 40 years and apply for their citizenship. That's what our settlement counselors would do. We would go,
right.
well, we'll help you apply for your citizenship because that's our work. Doesn't matter that they've been here for 30 years or 40 years or 10 or 15 years. As long as you need assistance, we would work with you. The other thing is we have lots and lots of programming. However, we have a lot of community partners. So if someone comes to us and they have a very unique need that we don't have at Skills for Change, we would refer out to a community agency who does that work, who have expertise in that work, to ensure that there is, services for that individual. So it's not a matter of, well, we can't help you, goodbye, or you've been here too long, you can't get help. We are very open and able to serve anybody, including some programs that we make eligible for our non-status Torontonians, right? So
Wow.
if you're non-status, there are programs and services where no questions asked, we're going to support you with it. There are some programs where the funder insists that they have to be status, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But we have two streams, for example, settlement. If you're new to Canada, newish, there is the federal funded settlement
Mhm.
services. It has to be for people who are refugees, convention
Right.
refugees, or PRs. But the provincial settlement services, you could be non-status, and we could help you get a job. We can help you with
Wow.
supports. We can help you with housing access and all those sort of things. So there's that option. So when you think of immigrant, I don't want it to seem as though if you don't have documentation that you can't get access. You are a part of the Toronto. You're just a non-status Torontonian, but you're still a Torontonian, and you should have
Listen,
access to services.
there needs to be a beacon of light shining down on Skills for Change, because just hearing the gamut of what you do, I knew some. Okay, I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away right now. And to think, okay, Surana, now you've gone into even more. Now, if anybody has questions, just drop it in the chat. If you have something you want to know more about, Joan is saying fantastic information. It totally is, Joan. Fantastic information. You have just launched the Black Leadership Institute on Social Action for Change. Okay, Sarah is like, isn't it outstanding, Sarah? We're just like, we're applauding you as a CEO. We're applauding your team. We're applauding this institution. This is amazing. What is this Black Leadership Institute on social action for change? I gotta make sure I say it right.
Thank you. So one of the things for us, last year, May 25th, the world changed, right? George Floyd was brutally murdered. And I'd been doing some work with the City of Toronto Anti-Black Racism as a committee member, which my term ended this year. And my team conceptualized the Black Leadership Institute for on Social Action for Change, and it's a leadership development program and a flagship program for our Black community access and programming department. So at Skills for Change, we have a department that's just focused on developing programs and making awareness of our community just for the Black community. So this project is about helping Black community members who are interested in community development to design and develop their leadership project and initiative through training, support, and mentorship. We bring in an anti-Black racism framework to really make sure that the Canadian Black identity and highlighting the barriers and issues that prevents an activist mindset that leads to change in the community. So it's developing your project, leadership networks. It is about learning how to showcase Black voices. It's about identifying, recognizing systemic oppression against Black people in particular, and developing programs to drive equity for members of the Black community who are marginalized. So we're looking at improving the social determinants of health, whether it's about housing, jobs, social connection, creativity, wellness, whatever your project is, we want you to be able to develop the competencies, tools, and resources to launch it and amplify it.
Wow.
And it's about making change. And this project, building that as Skills for Change, which is it's not a historically Black serving organization, right? It was, like I said, it started in 1982, focused on Vietnamese women, and then it expanded to all immigrants. But I'm a Black woman, and I have the Black experience is my experience, and Black immigrants need the same access to resources and tools as other communities have developed, right? There's so many
Yes.
other communities that have developed programs and services that are very much attuned with emphasizing the needs of that community and building up their leadership, and we wanted to do the same. It's a fully funded project by Accenture and the Catherine Donnelly Foundation that people can participate in for free, and we're hoping to continue to build upon it, and it's within the Black community access and programming department. And so what we try to do is, when we're building programs as Skills for Change, when we look at programs, for example, our employment services, is the Black community aware of this project?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Are they accessing this program? So we've launched new projects and initiative that specifically speaks to skilled Black immigrants and making sure that they're aware of it, partnering with other Black-led, Black-serving organization, um, doing the right outreach to bring it to their attention so they can participate in it. We saw a low uptake of our programs, and we serve, like we said, over 15,000
Yeah.
clients a year. Not a whole lot of them are Black, but we know they're Black immigrants, and a lot of them are
Yeah.
coming with, and they're very skilled and capable, and they're just facing the same barriers of other communities. They need those resources too. But we recognize you have to amplify it yourself internally and have a dedicated focus on bringing those projects to the Black community and then developing particular programs that speak to the Black experience, and have an anti-Black racism lens. And so that's what we did with the Black Leadership Institute here at Skills for Change.
So what? Okay. Wow. Okay. So if I wanted to be a part of this or be involved, like, how does one even know if this is something that is a fit for them? Because you're listening to us now and they're going like, okay, I hear what you're saying, but how do I fit in? Can I fit in?
Yeah, we have a team. We have you can email BCAP, so BCAP at skillsforchange.org. So skills for change.org, and there's a whole team. There's a supervisor. There's an associate director who heads up this department, and they will be able to speak with anybody who's interested to really go through the process. And to see how you can participate in this and other projects that we're gearing
Okay.
towards the Black community. So we have this data analytics initiative that is funded by TD Bank, and we want to make sure that it's amplified in the Black community because those are high paying future jobs, right? This is where monies and jobs are. It's
Okay.
growth, economy. Those are the positions that are going to drive organizations going forward, especially now with the way work has changed. Is data, 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 data. And we have this opportunity to have data analytics, and we want to ensure that a lot of Black women, Black folks in the community knows about this project and participate in this project. As an example, we're looking at Black entrepreneurship projects, and we're looking at Black youth specialized programming to ensure that Black youth can have access to post-secondary education to look at STEM careers, right? So in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics related careers. So just you could, if you're interested in being part of the project, you just email BCAP. But if you want to be a volunteer, if you want to work with us, if you want to provide support for the project, feel free to connect with us. We're happy to talk to people and get feedback from the broader community and to get support from people as we drive this initiative forward. But also give us feedback if you think we're not in a space and you are in that space and you go,
Yeah.
hold up, I am here, I've never heard of this. This is very Black. There's a Black community. Lots of Black people are here. How come we never hear about this project, the Skills for Change? Let us know so we can ensure that we're in those spaces. We're learning, right? We want to do a good job, but we're still learning and developing this particular piece of services, and we want to ensure that we do it really well.
And I saw that you said this project is unique and holistic. What in this project? What makes it this unique and holistic approach that you're taking?
I think the most critical piece for us and why it's different is because we're saying we want to build, help people who are potential community leaders from the Black community design and develop programs that will benefit the Black community with an anti-Black racism framework.
Mm.
So it is about community development in particular, building the next generation of Black leaders. Very, very intentional. We're very intentional about building the next generation of Black leaders, not leaders in general, culturally engaged, right? So your Blackness is built in thoroughly, fully, comprehensively in this project. And it's about building a network of connected people who can go forward and bring their projects to fruition and make a difference in the community now and in the future. So the unique things about it is that we're a is going to be co-developed with participants to an extent we want to get your feedback on how we're driving it through. It is about principles of leading change, developing community. It's about program development. It's about finding that voice and driving that voice forward. But again, founded on understanding anti-Black racism, understanding the Black identity, understanding the connection to community. It is very Black. I think that's the piece that I think is critical. And I say that because sometimes we have the projects and we cannot soften it because we don't
Yes.
want to offend anybody. We don't want people to feel excluded. So we have this leadership
Oh,
thing, and we don't want to say no. It's for Black people by Black people that emphasizes our own space or creating space to lead a change. That's it. That's what's unique about it. We're not. We are very much. out there into what we're trying to do. And that's the unique piece about it, but it's very structured. A great curriculum is being developed. We have good partners so that this project could really have some good outcomes.
I love that. It's being unapologetic because it's so many times we shrink. And I was reading that, Dr. Wesley Critchlow of the Critical Race Intersectional Scholar Director for Youth
Hmm.
Transitioning from Care of University said, this program is about trying to humanize every existence of who we are as Black people on a daily basis. That just like,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Very good supporter. So Dr. Krishna is very supportive. You know, when I launched our Spotlight series, the Skills for Change, last spring, where we were looking at emerging topics, and we spent a lot of time on anti-Black racism. I think I talked about it for like 6 months straight, from all this context, from the workplace, healthcare, social, in academia, every which way. And Dr. Krishna was very, very, very thoughtful, and he's been doing this work a long, long time, and it would have special emphasis in the Black LGBTQ plus community that we don't spend enough time emphasizing
yes.
the intersectionality compounded with anti-Black racism. Yes, that is a critical piece. We need to do that. We need to shine that lens, and we need to create space so that we can be able to build our projects without any hesitation, without feeling microaggression, without feeling that we can be our true selves without the need to code switch to change anything, and just be free and unencumbered by anything other than learning and growing with each other.
Surana, if you were next to me, I'd be hugging you really big right now. I'd be really hugging you right now. Like, and as I mentioned, Dr. Krisha, who else besides the foundation? I know the Catherine Donnelly Foundation is supporting you, but who else is supporting you in this amazing work that you're doing right now that you may want
So
to mention?
Accenture is also a partner and funder for the project. I think it's very beneficial, and they have a great employee network, a Black employee network, who've been a good resource for us, and we very appreciate their support for us. The board of directors are fully engaged as Skills for Change in supporting this project. We have a very diverse board, a lot of immigrants, racialized immigrants, including Black folks and not, who have been very engaged and supportive of this initiative. And we've built a lot of community partnerships that I think would allow us to push the project forward more effectively. It's just launched earlier this month, and we're very excited to push it forward and build more relationships. So anyone out there who says, hold up, I want to be a part of this, feel free to connect, because we don't want to stop with partnerships, right? We want everybody who is doing work related to the Black community to support them and to engage them.
Listen, engage, engage, engage. If you know anybody who needs to know about this, listen. I put the email up there. And how many people do you this program is set to impact as you start this off?
We're at minimum 20 people is going to be engaged in the project, and we hope to be able to continue to grow that as we go forward,
Mm,
because it is a cohort. So we want to do
right.
multiple cohorts. So the first cohort we want to get started as soon as possible. We're just doing the intake right now, and they're going to start getting the folks going in July. So if you're interested, you really have a couple of weeks to really connect with us so we can, assess whether there is a fit, and then, of course, how you could participate in the project.
I feel like I want to sign up. I'm like, I just want to come to I just want to come there. It's so impactful. And I am so just so amazed by what you're doing. Is there anything else about the program that you want to mention before we go into anything else or
I think the most important thing about this project is around the leadership development and helping people to find their voice.
Mhm.
Creating methods to navigate and challenge diversity, equity, inclusion issues in the workplace, in communities, in educational settings. Um, it's about creating a self-led social justice action project. So it's really about developing community projects, community development out in its own way, and that you're going to be a change maker. It is about building the next generation of leaders. And we may have noticed, a lot of our community leaders are elders.
Yes.
And we need to be able to ensure that the next generation are well prepared, but they don't have to fight the same way.
Yeah.
Right, that
Yeah.
they have that emotional resiliency right from the get-go, that they can recognize issues and challenge it right away, and they're confident in that challenge. And then we build the mentorship for these folks to support each other as they go forward with their projects and initiatives.
So I'm listening mentorship. I think there's some people on this listening in that you could be really good potential mentors and want to volunteer in this space. So I think you need to contact Surranna and her team, because we need the elders in this space. And the fact that you've created this is a great way to share their legacy, to share their impact, to share what they're doing. And okay, so and Wendy Jones says, sounds like in my lane. Yes, very informative. Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Wendy. And so as we begin to wind down, because I just want to be so mindful of your time and you've had a full day, I'm going to go back to the little bit of personal for you here. So you know you're on the Victory Speak show, and I always like to ask my guests, what does victory look like to you?
Hmm. Um, I'm still deciding, but from a work perspective, it is ensuring, and it's a little cliche with our tagline, but it's building equitable and welcoming communities. Is that to say that I think victory would be if we can look at our community and say they're fair, equitable, and welcoming, then we have done what we needed to do. Right? That's the most critical thing. And then personally, it means that I have been of service, right? And so
Hmm.
if I could be of service, then I think I have done my job, right? And I'm trying to paraphrase Shirley Chisholm, who has said, "Service." I always messed up the quote, but service is a privilege we get for being on Earth or living on Earth. I'm paraphrasing, right? You know, the
Hmm.
great Shirley Chisholm from the U.S. So service is the privilege that we get of being on the Earth. I'm paraphrasing. I'm
Yes.
probably a little bit closer to what she's saying, and that's to me is a victory. If I could be of service, then I've done. Then I've won. It's a success.
I love that. And being a leader at the level that you're at, what would you say to anyone that's a leader right now in in the C suites and stuff, and is an immigrant, and no matter what they come from, just to give them that little chutzpah that they need to make it through the next day?
You belong where you are.
Woo!
I think sometimes there's that imposter syndrome or the sense of
Yes.
why am I here? You belong there. So you belong where you are, and focus on just, my grandmother used to say, just be a decent person. Anything else will fall into place. So if you belong where you are and you're a decent person, it will work out.
I love that. You belong where you are. So now, if you could go to dinner
Mm-hmm.
with someone, who would it be and why?
That's a tough one. um, if I were to go to I am, like I said, books are my thing. Um, I would have loved, so someone who's not alive, but I would have loved to sit down and have a conversation with Toni Morrison. I've
Oh,
watched a lot of her videos and a lot of her speeches and interviews, and what I like was that calm, very measured way of speaking. And I thought you just sit there and you go, and there's a lot of questions I'd like to ask about her writing and engaging with her on those writing, because she influenced me tremendously with her books. I when we came to Canada, we came to Ajax. I lived in Ajax initially, so um, interesting time. And
yeah.
I went to there was no black authors in the Ajax library, but I had to take the bus to the Pickering library. I'm now living in Pickering again, coming back home, closer to home as it were. And they had a little black section, and I read all the books by black authors, all the Toni Morrison, and they had some movies and so on that I would watch, black movies, and she just stuck with me. So I would love to have had a conversation with her. Someone living, I think, I mean, it's not a sexiest of well known, but I would like to sit down with Ursula Burns. She's a black woman, former CEO of Xerox, and the first black female CEO of a Fortune 500 company in the U.S. And she was brilliant. And I listened to
Yes.
her on a podcast the other day, and she said, asking her about her experiences, and she said, what they tried to do with me is to say that I was special. And she said, I'm not special. There's a lot of other black women who are smarter and more capable than me, but they told me I'm special as a way to keep others out. I,
Ooh.
I love that. She did a great podcast on Harvard Business Review, IdeaCast, CEO series, if anybody want to listen to her.
I'm gonna
I
go.
would like to sit down with Ursula Burns, because Ursula Burns, came in as an engineer in the 80s in a black woman, an engineer in a space that was necessarily there. And Xerox, bless them,
Mhm.
was, even before it was sexy, was focused on diversity and inclusion even in 1982, and made an effort to bring forward. And she talked about everything that she experienced as a woman, as a black woman CEO. And I would just like to sit with her and learn from her. And she's brilliant, and she's also very much a community person and giving a lot back. And she's done a lot to show that we should be there, we could be there, and when we're there, we are very successful. And she did an immeasurable job in managing Xerox to what it was, and then having to leave it because someone comes in and go, you've been here long
Yep.
enough, and we want something different.
We want to do some change management.
Yes, but she was great. So I love to chat with her and pick her brain and say, how could I be you?
Okay, so we're gonna put that out there. We need that connection for you. We need that connection for you. And for those of you who joined late, Surana has a book club. So you need to join her book club. It's what? How many women did you tell me strong?
So 1,600 women on Facebook, Black Women Connect. So you go to Black Women Connect / Black Women Connect on Facebook. You're gonna love it. And we're very open. I just have to say, anybody coming in is non-judgmental. We never criticize each other. We're open to everybody, including Black LGBTQ plus folks and different religions and backgrounds and ages. And we just come and talk books. We are very open and supportive. It's all Black women and those who may identify as women, and we have a lot of fun. And we read amazing books, and find ways to connect to the stories and bring it back to our real lives and build relationships with each other. Great friendships have been formed from our book club, but a lot of sisterhood and connection. So if you're interested, we're reading this fantastic book this month, The Death of Vivek Oji. And we read a wonderful book last month. If you want to learn about, domestic slavery right now, a fiction book is called The Girl with a Louding Voice, and that was fantastic. So, take a look at our reading list. If you can't come to the meeting, that's okay. We'll meet on Zoom. But you can just read the book along with us, and see what great stories we are coming upon.
So I'm gonna
Yes, that is the quote. Services are rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. And I live by Shirley Chisholm. I love that saying. And this is what I take with me, is to say being of service is why I'm here. Right? Being on earth. So there we go.
thank you, Joan, for finding that. And Serena, yes, Serena is a published author, and Serena's tuning in from DC. And okay,
Mm-hmm.
so here's a fundraiser for you that it is, you belong where you are. The T-shirt, it's T-shirt worthy by Surana. We're gonna coin that phrase. Nobody else take it. Nobody else take it. This is Surana's phrase, and we're gonna make that shirt, and we're gonna raise some funds, and you can put the money wherever you are, because I know you have a lot of causes that you belong to. So, what do you want your legacy to be known for, Surana?
um, I think is that she cared and tried to make a difference in people's lives. I
Mhm.
think that's pretty much it. Whatever else comes through, I try to lead with empathy. I try to put myself in other people's shoes and understand what they're going through. It doesn't necessarily mean that people get to do whatever they want all the time, but I try to understand and to be as supportive as I can. But it's that I care, and I would like people's lives to be better, to be healthier, to be safer, to be fun. I want people to have connection with each other. That's the why I created a book club. I wanted connection. I want people to meet each other and build relationships. It became a very social event. Before COVID happened, there's lots of outings that we would do as Black women
Right.
in Toronto. We were going to the ROM, we are going to dinner, we are going to events. We had all sorts of meetups that we would do with each other, and we didn't know each other. And I would just say, in a week or two, I'm going to
Yeah.
get tickets for so and so. Whoever wants to come, let me know, and we go. And all these people show up, and we go, and we have this great time that we just did. And I think Janet was here. We ended up at the ROM Friday night parties, and we danced and ate and found this black coat designer. My blue coat, I think my coat is blue. It was a black
My coat is
woman.
blue.
My
Yes, my
coat is
coat
blue.
is
We
blue.
found her by going to the
She is
ROM, and
amazing.
about 15 of us just showed up, and we went and we had a great time. Some knew each other, some didn't know each other, and all these relationships come. So really, that's it for me. Is just building relationships and making people connect with each other, that makes life that much more fun.
And is there any lessons you've learned along the way that you'd love to share before we sign off tonight that could either impact a Black woman, an immigrant, it doesn't matter who, but lessons learned along the way? Because we're learning so much from you tonight.
I think some of the lessons that I've learned is to trust yourself. It's absolutely okay to make a mistake. Don't beat yourself up too much, but learn. So one thing that I tend to do a lot of is self-reflection, and not to beat myself up, to understand why did I make decision, how did I learn from decision, and what I would do differently. Um, One of the important things is to trust in you and your decisions and your thinking, and to put yourself first, not in a selfish way, but rather, as long as you take care of yourself, you'll be in a really good position to be able to take care of others. And that, I think, is critical. So, there are people who are selfless to a point that it hurts themselves. I don't think that's very helpful. I think you want to be able to be taking care of yourself to a point that you're fully reserved, right? You have your reserve is full, so that now you can expend that energy on other people without being depleted. So I think those are lessons that it took me a while, to learn some of that, and I think that serves me a lot better now, to be better for people. And again, being in service takes energy and effort, but if I replenish myself really well, I can do it without feeling, tired and depleted.
And I love it. Everybody is they're so into. I love the Victory Speak listeners because like they're just coming. If we forget something or miss something, Wendy's like, yes, my code is blue is Natasha's company. Yes, it is.
Yes, it's very, very creative stuff. You got to get
Yeah.
a nice quote from there.
Listen,
I don't know her
Natasha
personally. I
is
just,
serious.
yeah.
She's a beautiful human being and an amazing
Hmm.
designer. So my
Yes,
code is blue.
so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
cool. Well, Surana, thank you so much for joining me tonight in this space. I really appreciate you. I really thank you for taking the time and sharing with us about, skills for change and the initiatives that you're all doing. And I hope you get some rest. You have an amazing sound. The fact that they're doing what they're doing and you're expanding. You had so much, but yet you have expanded. And I'm so grateful for you. And to everybody who's tuned in live and on the replay tonight, make sure and show Surround your love, give her the hearts, give her your thumbs up, whatever you need to give her. Put some comments in the chat so that she can see. And while you put your comments in the chat, I'm just going to remind you that on Wednesday, it's another show. And listen, folks, Father's Day is coming up on Sunday. And so I'm curating a conversation with some phenomenal fathers. Are you ready for this? Anthony Pierre, Anton James, Dwayne Wellington, and Rudy Kwame Williams are going to be talking about Black fatherhood on Wednesday at 8. So be sure to tune in. We want to change the narrative. We want people to see that we have Black fathers doing great jobs as fathers. They are invested in their children and invested in society. And so that's a show that you definitely want to tune into and make sure and share what you learned tonight about the program that Skills for Change in Surranna is doing. And I encourage you, if you have missed anything, you can replay the show. You can go to YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube page, Victory Speaks 7, you know, um, on Twitter and on Instagram. Okay, that was a round of applause for Susanna that Surranna that just came up. Isn't that wonderful? And you can also tune in to the Victory Speaks page on Facebook, Victory Speaks 77. And you can follow me on Spotify and Apple and listen to the Victory Speaks audio podcast where we talk about how to live a victorious life. I want to leave you with a couple quotes tonight. And remember, love is in the details. So you have to lead with love, lead with light, and lead with truth. And Albert Pike says, I love this quote and I'm saying it again. What we do for ourselves dies with us, and what we do for others lives on forever. Try and remember to have an inspired conversation with someone tonight, tomorrow, the rest of the week. And sometimes, my friends, all you have to do is smile. Your conversation can just start with a smile. I want to make sure that Surana sees her wonderful love being shared here. Wonderful conversation, so inspiring. Serena said, enjoyed. I enjoyed it so much, so much. Thank you for your service. Now, this is really Wendy Jones, but her husband. She's using her husband's computer. Excellent. I enjoyed it. I need to chat with Surranna. Yes, you do. And you're an educator. So, yes, you do. And Serena, thank you. Such a good show. And we appreciate all of you who tuned in live and on the replay. Have a great week ahead. Remember to walk in victory, speak your victory, and let your victory speak. Thank you. And good night, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank